Hello everyone, welcome to my channel about writing stuff. My name's Camille and today we're doing another discussion video. We are discussing All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. Now if you're new here, this is a writing channel, so I will be discussing the writerly aspects of the story. It won't necessarily be a review, but there will be spoilers. And secondly, when I do these discussion videos, I don't do a whole lot. And the reason why is because I only like to do discussions on books where there is something about the craft in the story that's different or new or that I think the author did very well. So specifically, we're going to be discussing the point of view shifts and the point of view changes in this book, specifically how it relates to the theme and how it enhances the story as a whole, because it's something I haven't really seen before. This book has some difficult topics, so I'm going to be discussing difficult topics. So I will caution a trigger warning both for this video and for the story. I tried recording this video a couple of times already, and I found that I was speaking very slowly, tap dancing around what I wanted to say and trying to be delicate, because this story, putting it plainly, there is an 8-year-old girl who falls in love with a 23-year-old guy. So a lot of the relationship things and things going on in the story can make people very uncomfortable. So, I wanted to be delicate, but point of fact is that I couldn't really get my point across that way. So I'm just probably going to be blunt, is pretty much going to be the tone of this video. So like I said, if, things like trigger warnings are a concern to you, then definitely don't want to watch this video. So yeah, like I said, spoilers. If you haven't read the book, this discussion's not going to make any sense to you, so read the book. I listened to it on audio first, and I highly recommend the audiobook, so either one, do that. Okay, so All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. Now, I was hesitant to start this book, but I was also kind of excited to start this book because, like I said in my last video, I watched someone's, worst reads of 2017 vlog a few weeks ago, and they said that this book was one of the books that they hated because there were themes of pedophilia. And whenever someone hates a book, I want to read it. So I went into this book, like I said, hesitant but excited because it was a popular book. There were a lot of great reviews, and yet this one person really hated it. Now, before I get into what the story is actually about, I'm going to read the back cover copy just to give you an idea of where my head was at when I first opened the book. So, back cover copy. Love knows no boundaries. A beautiful and provocative love story between two unlikely people and the hard-won relationship that elevates them above the Midwestern meth lab backdrop of their lives. All the Ugly and Wonderful Things challenges all we know and believe about the human heart. So with that back cover plot summary, you would assume it's going to be maybe typical hard-won love story, which isn't the case. For most of the story, or for a good chunk of the story, you have 8-year-old Wavy falling in love with Kellen, who's 23 or 24. Put that into the parameters of societal norms, that's completely inappropriate. However, the book does take place 40 years ago. But anyway, that concept is uncomfortable, right? But the story isn't just about that. It's not just about Wavy and Kellen. The story is not just from Wavy and Kellen's point of view. What I love about the story and what I want to talk about is how, yes, that is the main focal point, is Wavy and Kellen trying to find family, falling in love. But it's also about the surrounding characters. It's about being in their heads and seeing how they're judging these other characters, how they're judging their relationships, how they are inflicting their perceptions upon the lives of these two people that they don't understand. It's about them speculating, gossiping, judging, and not helping. That's very important. And that's what really like stuck in my craw while I was reading this book. So the story opens, and the first 2 chapters aren't even from Wavy or Kellen's point of view. The story opens when Wavy's like 5 years old, and we get the point of view of 2 people. Her cousin Amy, who's only a couple years older than Wavy, and her grandmother. And both of these narrators are basically just observing Wavy and describing how weird she is. You know, she doesn't like to be touched. She doesn't like to talk. She doesn't like to eat in front of people. She's strange. She has a fascination with the stars. But it's, you know, no one takes the time to get to know her. No one takes the time to really help her and be there for her and just get to know her. Her aunt and uncle end up, you know, kicking her out of the house, not wanting to take care of her anymore because she's getting the other kids in trouble by sneaking out of the house. And the grandmother tries to take care of Wavy, but then the grandmother gets sick and dies of cancer. But it's just terrible. You have this young girl who's 5, 6, 7 years old, and no one's really taking the time to care for her and help her. And then we get into Wavy's point of view, and we start to get to see why she is this way. Why she doesn't like to be touched, why she doesn't like to eat in front of people. And, you know, it comes back to that common idea of, you know, we are our parents' children, we are the way that we are raised. And Wavy's mother is crazy. She has some mental illnesses. She is a total germaphobe and basically raised Wavy saying things like, you're dirty, the mouth is a dirty place. If you touch people, you will make them dirty. People can't touch you. And, you know, that made Wavy afraid to eat in front of people, afraid to touch people, afraid to speak, all this sort of stuff. But her mother gets out of prison, gets custody of Wavy and her little brother, and, you know, after a time ends up moving back in with her abusive meth cook husband. And crazy mom starts self-medicating with meth. Now, the one thing that not that I hate about the book, but I just hate these characters in this book, like these secondary characters, because this is just a horrible home life. And there are so many people surrounding Wavy and Wavy's family that could help that literally do nothing. Wavy ends up getting enrolled in school, and we get the teacher's point of view. And the teacher is, you know, gossiping and poking fun with the other teachers about Wavy's mom and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, she makes a point to say, I wish there were a reason that I could call social services, when in reality, anyone can get help for anyone. The main excuse that these people have is that they're selfish and that they have other things going on in their lives. But, you know, so instead they all turn the other cheek to what's going on with Wavy. And then finally, you know, Wavy's 8 years old and she meets Kellen. She watches him crash on his motorcycle. He splits his head open, breaks his arm, he's bleeding. And Wavy somehow gets comfortable enough with him to save him. She lets Kellen touch her arm to write his phone number there, which is a big step for her. She doesn't like to be touched, and yet she lets Kellen touch her so that she can get him help and potentially save his life, which she does. And that's how their relationship starts. After Wavy saves his life, Kellen starts coming around to clean the house that her crazy mother neglects. He brings Wavy and her little brother food and just altogether spends time with them. And it's very innocent at that point in the story. It's literally Kellen and Wavy's little brother Donald, who have bad backstories, Kellen's done some pretty terrible things, and yet none of them have this idea of family. So they start building this idea of family together. They take care of each other, they love each other, but more than that, the three of them start to understand each other. It's one thing to love someone, to care about someone, but to really understand them is profound and it's rare. And that's what family is. Family is understanding each other, why you are the way that you are, why the person that you love is the way that they are. And, even when we're in Wavy and Kellen's point of view, it is innocent and it's raw and it's desperate because they all just want family. They want to be safe. They want to take care of each other. They want each other to be happy. But then we jump around to other points of view. We get the points of view of, Wavy's principal. We get the points of view of Wavy's parents' friends and Wavy's aunt and cousin and all these other people who are just constantly doing the same things. They are gossiping about what they perceive in these people. They're speculating about these people's lives, and no one's offering help. All of these people understand how rough Wavy's home life must be because of the way that she is, and yet no one's offering help. At one point in the story, you have a police officer who arrests Kellen and brings Kellen and Wavy into the station because they were caught drag racing and Kellen beat some guy into a bloody pulp damn near. And the cop gives Wavy his card and says, call me if you need anything. And I have so many problems with this. The first one is that if he had done his research, he would have known that both of Wavy's parents had been arrested and gone to jail before. That Wavy's been in this situation before where she was pulled out of her house in a nightshirt and made to stay in the police station and then sent to live with strangers. So obviously she's not going to trust the police. The second problem I have with this is that why do adults always insist on putting responsibility on the child? What the cop should have done was contacted social services and had them do a follow-up appointment at the house. And it's just like this through the whole story. It's so frustrating. Now, back to the, inappropriate nature of this relationship. Wavy and Kellen start to get really close. He kisses her on the forehead. He kisses her on the mouth. She kisses him back. Is that wrong? Maybe. The thing about the point of views here is that when Kellen kisses Wavy on the mouth for the first time, she's 8 or 9 years old, and he kisses her and she is okay with it. But Kellen makes a point to say, I kissed her the way that I would kiss anyone that I love, the way that I would kiss anyone in my family. He makes a point to say it's not weird. And this is where we start moving into this gray area of, well, society says that's wrong, but what about these two people who don't have a family, have found family in each other and are taking care of each other? Both are okay with it, and it's not weird. And I can't make that judgment, obviously, but when it comes to society, it is wrong. So, and that's the whole problem with this book. That's why it's so thought-provoking, is because not only is it Kellen who kisses her, but then you have Wavy come back, and when she's 12, 13, 14, Wavy starts to initiate contact, starts to initiate a physical relationship, and Kellen starts arguing with her, no, you can't touch me because it's wrong, because you're young. And then Wavy starts to revert back to this, oh, Kellen doesn't want to touch me because he doesn't love me, because I'm dirty. My mom was right, I must be dirty. And then you get into this area, this gray area of, well, the victim in the situation, who would be Wavy, is the one initiating contact. But then you have Kellen going along with it, which in and of itself is wrong because age of consent does exist for a reason. But it's also just gray. It is very gray. I said that I wasn't going to be delicate, and now I feel like I'm just way into the realm of uncomfortable here. But point of fact is that At the end of the story, Wavy is an adult and she's trying to get the no contact order that's put in place by the judge revoked so that she and Kellen can be together. And like I said, at this point, she's an adult. She's in college to study astrophysics. Despite her past, she has an education and she has her own place and she's very intelligent and she's making a life for herself. And she tells the judge, your family is real. Why is your family real and mine's not real? And that really struck me because the whole story, you have these secondary characters who are speculating on what's going on, especially Wavy's aunt, saying, no, this is wrong. You don't know any better because you're 14. You don't understand. You don't actually love him. This is inappropriate. He's a rapist. He deserves to go to jail. But the aunt never did anything to get Wavy out of her shitty situation. You have the cops doing the same thing and the judge doing the same thing, telling Wavy and Kellen, no, this is wrong. This is inappropriate. He's a pedophile. He's this, he's that. He deserves to go to prison. And yet none of them did anything to help Wavy out of her situation. The only person who took care of her was Kellen. The only person who took care of her and the only other person important to her, Donald, was Kellen. And to Kellen, Wavy was the only person who loved him for him. So back to the whole point of this discussion, the point of view shifts. The story isn't necessarily about Wavy and Kellen. The story is about people in a society and family and how much people suck. It is this story about how all these people can spend their energy judging and speculating and gossiping and wanting to do the right thing, but being too selfish to act. And then what comes out of that is this 14-year-old girl in love with this 24-year-old guy and wanting to have sex with him, wanting to marry him, wanting to move into his house and take care of him. And then everyone finally stepping in and saying, no, that's wrong. When for the whole first course of her life, none of them were involved. None of them gave a damn. And it's really powerful because if we had just gotten the story from Wavy and Kellen's point of view, it probably would have just been contrived and uncomfortable and just, it wouldn't have the same impact. But since we got the points of view of all these other people who have other lives, who have other things going on, if we didn't have all these other people sort of just standing by and watching all this happen and then later getting involved and ruining it, it wouldn't drive the theme home, which is that you don't know the person you're gossiping about. You don't know the situation of the person you're speculating about. And even if you've been through something similar, even if you've seen something similar, everyone's situation is different. And I think that's what bothers me about people who read this story and automatically say, it was awful because Kellen was a pedophile. First of all, I want to give this book a fair shake, so I'm going to say this. Pedophilia is the attraction to prepubescent children. Nothing in the book says that Kellen was attracted sexually to Wavy as a child. He didn't start noticing her sexually until after she hit puberty, so technically not a pedophile. Now, is it still inappropriate? Yes, but like I said, I want to give this book a fair shake. And yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, there are things that are inappropriate and what have you, but if you just look past that at the themes and what Bryn Greenwood did by really painting a picture of how fickle people are and how insincere and judgmental they are, that's where the worth is in this story. And personally, I loved it. I'm still reeling from it. I think it is a beautiful story, beautifully written, and all of the voices are very distinct. So yeah, that is my POV discussion on All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. If you're writing a similar story, or if you're writing the type of story with themes where society is one way and you have characters sort of breaking against that, or family dynamics, or any of this sort of stuff, it is so powerful to show different points of view. It is so powerful to show what people observe and what's actually happening. So that's some tool you can take with you into your next story. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. If you have something to say about this discussion or the book in general, you can comment. No resource today because it's just discussion video. So I will see you guys next week for another writing topic thing video. But for now, as always, you should be writing and reading stuff.